All right, people, that traffic ain't gonna get easier out there for the rest of the commute. That's for sure.
Patterson from Film Fury, and welcome to the second episode of Talking Edge, a title that I shamelessly stole from the Talking Dead after show party series that I used to watch. This show is about a 1994 film that I shot, and we are now bringing back together in a kind of new and improved form. And if you saw the first episode, you got a good idea of what it's about. And on this episode, I'm having a new producer that's come aboard actually quite some time ago. He's a good friend of mine and fellow YouTuber, podcaster, and overall creative guy. He's sort of a mainstay, in my opinion, in the horror community online. His current show, Mom and Pop Video Shop, can be found on YouTube. His podcast, Retro Movie Geek, where he does numerous episodes with his buddies, Peter and Daryl, can be heard, and you'll get a real kick out of it. And we're introducing Joel G. Robertson.
I'm not gonna lie, Rick. I kind of wish your show was called The Cutting Edge. Toe pick.
I was waiting for the toe pick.
Yeah. I was saying, you either get the joke or you don't. It wasn't that good of a joke. I'm here. Thank you, Rick. I'm happy to be here.
And thank you for coming on and complete verge. And because you know how on both of our shows, both Monster Kid Fury and your show, verging is just like completely normal. Mm-hmm. For other people, it seems like erratic and maybe even a little bit incoherent sometimes. But my buddy Ray Cruz, who starred in the movie, who, of course, you know, the movie's going to be a kind of tribute to him by the time we're finished with the final cut. One of his favorite movies was The Cutting Edge, actually.
Nice.
So,
and I saw that movie mainly the dollar movie. Remember, God, I miss the dollar movies. I miss it so much. But I remember I saw that at least like 3 or 4 times for some reason. I liked it a lot. I may have been Moira Kelly. I remember being a big. I like DB Sweeney. I mean, I like the cast. I thought it's a fun movie. I don't care. Yeah. Judge me if you will. I like that.
Moira Kelly was the draw for Ray. He was in love with that chick, like anything she was in.
Yep.
Like he wasn't a huge Twin Peaks fan, but he watched the movie because she was in
Fire Walk with Me. Yep. I think I actually may have done the same thing because I think I've told you that. I've never watched the show, but I've seen the movie, and I think that may be the reason. and Mädchen Amick, I know she's on the show too, right?
Yeah, she didn't make the movie. Her scenes were all cut, unfortunately. But there was plenty of Moira's Kelly, so it was definitely a reason to watch it.
Got
it. So Joel, explain your entry into the Hard Edge production, the new version of it.
Okay. I will make up an entirely false story that has maybe just a modicum of truth to it. No, I think it basically came about because we have to go way back that you at some point reached out like as a listener. I mean, I knew we'd connected on some level, you know, the usual, we're Facebook friends, you know, you don't really know somebody, but they like your stuff and you like their stuff and it's all nice. And you told me you listened to the show, really enjoyed it. And I remember thinking I was really cool and you seem like a really nice guy. And then basically fast forward, really fast forward. I'm trying to think, was Hard Edge what brought us like talking, or we already were kind of talking before that, right?
Well, because I had done your show prior, right?
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, you'd definitely done that. Yeah, Rolling Thunder, right? And then you were on for that one, right? And was that something else?
Rolling Thunder, and there may have been something before that. I mean, like the main
not Night Riders. We know not because I remember that was the one where you like that actually one of the first interactions.
It was because Night Riders.
The Entity.
This was pre.
Thank you, Callie. Yes,
but Connection. It was pre-Heart Attack. And I was still working in heating and air at the time. And I remember being in an attic and you guys laid waste to George Romero's Night Riders.
Yes.
But to be fair, Peter was a little more gentle about it,
But
and
Peter's
he was
always gentle. Peter's a gentle movie lover.
he's Mike Mikey for the Life cereal
Yeah,
commercials. If anyone
Mikey
told,
likes it. Yeah.
yeah, I think now probably a third of our audience right now is like, I don't get that
I
reference, and
don't
it's
get
like,
it.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 But yeah, that was the first time we like connected. But then
Yes,
it
which
was
is funny
post
because
Heart
it ki
Attack. Yeah.
yes, yes, yeah, and then now, Callie just posted The Entity was the other one you were on for. Yes,
Yes,
which you
yes,
yes,
the entity.
which and that movie I had never seen, and actually Rolling Thunder too, neat but see, I may have talked smack about Knight Riders, but I loved both of those other 2 movies, so,
You
there
made
we
up for it.
I made
You
up
made
for it
up for it in
a little
bulk.
bit, yes, and I will revisit Knight Riders because I feel like on paper, I should love that movie. So
Right,
that
right.
I don't want to derail us here. So either way, we started getting to know each other a little bit. I think I wasn't when I know you posted something about Hard Edge and I commented on it on Facebook because for those that don't know, which is basically everybody because no one knows who
Hmm.
I am a fan of shot on video stuff. I was an independent filmmaker back in the day, much like yourself, Rick. We basically shot things on VHS, and I had fond memories of it. And I ended up kind of not being as into it up until like maybe the last few years, and then I came across, and I'm sure I've told the story a gajillion times on my show, Chris Seaver's the documentary they did about him, Low Budget Heroes,
Mhm.
and it kind of just took me down this rabbit trail of like I was like a lot of things that titles that I had heard but I had never gotten to because they weren't playing, my rental stores never had them or whatever, and so I just started to mainline this stuff, and there's something about the sort of I call it a very authentic aesthetic, and I know it's pretentious as hell, but but it is. It's everything today feels so perfect and it's great. You can make a beautiful whatever, and I get that. But there's something about the down and dirty DIY nature, the handmade tangible nature of analog anything and even digital stuff, but like mini DV days, any of that stuff.
Mhm.
I just low res, I like it. And you can't explain it. I get it's not for everybody. 100% understand that, but for me, I enjoy it. So, and I know I feel like you and I had some conversations though, because I think at some point we had talked about you had made a movie and I told you how I had made a movie and blah, blah, blah. But then you posted that you were starting to do stuff about Hard Edge. You put some pictures up. And I remember, and maybe it was even like, it was definitely before the trailer, but I remember just thinking, yes, I have to see this thing. Please finish this and put it out in the world because I want to watch it. Totally selfish
Right.
on my part.
So yeah, we had talked about obviously the world of horror film shot on video movies. And of course I got to see elements of yours and everything. Oh, and by the way, this guy ended up on a Fangoria compilation of short horror films. So Joel's got a lot of street cred as far
Uh,
as I'm concerned,
okay,
actually.
well, yeah, those that rented the Fangoria Blood Drive, the first volume in around 2004, um, you're welcome. I know it wasn't everyone's favorite, but let's just put it that way. But it was cool. Like for me, it was just it, and I'm sure you could totally relate to this, Rick. Like I legit feel like if by getting to see my name of my little movie in a compilation on a shelf at a Blockbuster in my town, like that was almost as great as I imagine. Like if you'd walked up to a marquee at a movie theater, right, you would see the title of your movie up there. It's that it was cool. It was a fun moment. So I'm very happy that
Absolutely.
I got to be part of that.
Yeah. And the thing about shot on video stuff, and you and I talked about this before, is they're time capsules for not
Mhm.
just the
Yes.
time period a movie was shot, but just the region they were shot in,
Yep.
which is something a feature film never really gives you that type of feeling. Like you could be watching a Clint Eastwood movie shot
Mhm.
in 1987
Mhm.
in, Carmel, California, but it never feels like it's inherently from there,
Yeah.
as opposed to shot on video, which again, you could argue it's because of the analog signal or the fact that the production design is less than stellar compared to
Mhm.
a movie. It's kind of like that meme where it says what people think the 1980s look like, and it's filled with neon and
Yeah.
bright
Yeah. Yeah.
pastels, and then it's like, no, this is what 1987 was
Yeah.
really like,
A lot of
and
wood
you get
paneling,
exactly wallpaper, things
avocado.
of that
Yeah.
nature, and that's one of the joys basically of regional filmmaking.
Yep.
And that's something about not only your movie but my movie and the movies we're fans of, is that you have that feeling.
Mhm.
So I had been on Joel's show a few times at that point. Had started my own podcast with the editor of a website that I work for, and Hard Edge kept floating around. I had mentioned it to Joel before, and then one day, like Kismet, at a yard sale, I find a practically brand new VCR, and I'm just like, well, let me see if it can play my tape without an issue. And it did, and it was a blast. And I ended up watching like one of the rough cuts of the movie, like the very initial cut, I think it was. And just for shits and giggles, I went ahead and just took my phone out and took video of it and posted it. And this, I'm a night owl. Joel knows this. I'm usually, he'll see my entries. It's like, Jesus, he was up at like 3:30 in the morning. So I wake up around, 8 o'clock, and there's like 3 or 4 texts from Joel and then a voice memo. And it's just, dude, you need to call me Hard Edge. And I think Joel was more excited than I was about the prospect of it coming back at that point in time, because he's like, I want to see it. I want to see it
Yeah.
now.
Oh, no, self-centered. This is 100% selfish.
Yeah, so then it just kind of worked out, because a few months later, Christmas comes around, and my kids give me a new computer setup with all the technology to start editing my own stuff and everything. And it just seemed like a natural progression to go ahead and revisit this movie and clean
Mhm.
it up and put it out there. And of course, the Joel has been like with me every step of the way at that point. And he just started doing things for the production, including so generously volunteering one of his of the era camcorders to go ahead and shoot these additional scenes. Then he starts talking about possibly trying to help me release it. And after a while, I'm just like, dude, you're kind of like the producer now. So now anyone he talks to about it, I'm like, yeah, man, you're the producer. You're a co-producer now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have
And
talked to quite a few people, yes.
yeah, and you've been like, you have, man. You've been like not only a great cheerleader for the whole thing, you've helped to inspire the idea of, okay, well, yeah, maybe I can do this now, and maybe I can do that with it now. And we're getting there.
Mhm.
The reshooting has been somewhat difficult here and there, because very much like when we were younger, but it seemed easier at the time. You would always have the situation of, okay, maybe someone's going to back out, or
Mhm.
hey, I got work this week. Uh, but as a grown adult, you realize, wow, it's even more difficult to get
Yeah.
people, because it's even bigger situations.
Yep.
It's like one of our actresses, unfortunately, has cataract surgery, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that go on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why when I prepare my, my reboot of Cocoon, I'm gonna be prepared for the fact that all my, octogen
Everybody's
o
gone, Joel.
my octogenarian actors that I will have to get will be I sorry, I should do it for a modern audience. I mean, they'll all be 19, 20 years old, and, they'll
But on the upside, you can get Steve Gutenberg to
oh,
play one of the old guys now, so
I
it can
prob
all
actually, wouldn't
come
that be
full
funny? That
circle.
I kinda would dig that, I'm not gonna lie. There'd be a part of me that I actually kinda like that. He'd be the Wilford Brimley character or the,
And wasn't Complete Verge, wasn't Wilford Brimley not really that damn old when he did
no, he was, like,
Cocoon?
in his
But
50s or something, yeah, late
yeah,
50s?
he always looked 20 years older than he
Yes,
actually was,
he was one of
and
those
it's just like,
guys.
"Oh my
Yep,
god."
yep,
But it's good, because it makes it feel better for us. We're like, "Oh, shit, okay."
yeah. I don't look that bad.
Yeah, I don't look that, so I'm pretty decent at this point.
Yeah.
So not to turn it into a moment of, "Tell me about my eyes." What did you think, actually, when you first saw that Facebook entry with actual moving footage of Hard Edge, the
You
little
mean
bit
the
of
one that
the
you shot
trailer?
through your phone
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
trailer?
Oh, well, later the trailer, but,
Yeah.
like, when you first saw that, was it because we had talked about it
Mhm.
before, was it kinda like, "Oh, this motherfucker's serious, he really did make an action movie."
Um, I believed you were serious, like, I didn't doubt that. I think it was more along the lines of oh, I remember that's what I was trying to the problem is, dude, and for everyone out there, if you're old enough, you get it. It's like the timeline speeds up as you progress through life, and you like, I'm like, okay, did we talk about X, Y, and Z before this one? You know what I mean? It's like I get it's all the last 5 years is like a blur. I'm sure it's like a blur for most people, but it's definitely the older I get, the more I'm noticing. I'm like, okay, because I thought you and I had several conversations prior to me
Right,
ever seeing a frame of the movie.
right,
Um,
right.
and so then when I saw it, I already knew to a degree what you had talked about, and to see what I immediately picked up on, and this obviously definitely comes back into play with the trailer,
Mhm.
was the effort to shoot it as cinematically as could reasonably be expected considering the limitations you had at hand. And I mean that totally as a compliment. So it's a weird
Right, right,
backhanded,
right.
compliment. Meaning that the angle choices, the framing, the just all of it, I could tell it felt. And look, I've seen enough SOV stuff at this point, and even the quote unquote worst of the worst,
Mhm.
that is literally like somebody is in front of, like, they're in the most generic vanilla apartment with like nothing on the wall, and like, you know what I mean, it's like a badly framed mid shot, so like it's like down here to their like eyebrow, everything's, but yet there's just something about it that's weirdly charming, almost like you're watching someone's home movie.
Right.
Yours didn't feel that way though. Like yours felt like, okay, yeah, it's shot on VHS, SVHS, whatever, but there's a cinematic quality to it, and there was something about, and I just like the energy. I think it's the other thing I made a comment to you about, and I
Mhm.
don't remember if I felt this as much with those clips, because to be fair, they were quick clips, but
Yeah.
but definitely with the trailer, it was like I told you about, like the feature that I made. When I look back at it, one of my biggest knocks on it, besides the fact that I had a corn cup on my butt and took my stuff way too serious, was the fact that I it's an energy. Like, you know what I mean? There's like a momentum and a propulsion. And I just
Mhm.
sense that in what I was seeing from Hard Edge. So, and I love the idea of it. Action is one of as much as I love horror, and I feel like, yeah, okay, I'm known like being a huge fan of horror because I'm on all these shows, and I do. Horror I love. But I love action, and I love comedies. And,
Right.
depending on what they are, there's a lot of dramas that I love. But action as a subgenre has always been a favorite. And I like low budget action too, because there's something about it that, you know, kind of like low budget horror, where they had to be kind of ingenious with the way they, pulled things off, because you don't have the millions of dollars to blow up a car, or,
Mhm.
send somebody off the top of a skyscraper. You have to figure out how to do that creatively. So I just like that. I like that. I kind of think this is the best way to put it. I think of SOV movies, and I mean by that, I mean anything shot on analog, VHS, SVHS, all the way up through like, 480p, or, like mini DV, that kind of stuff. Basically, all pre HD stuff, all pre 4K stuff.
Right.
Um, for me, it's like folk art. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone to like an art festival, and there'll be like a
Mhm.
folk artist, and whether they make dolls or whether they have paintings, and to somebody you look at and say, oh, that's kind of crude and amateurish and blah blah blah. But like, that's sort of the point. Like,
Right.
it's not meant to be trying to create something that would be hanging in the Louvre. It's supposed to be this art that is primitive, that is sort of, got this, quality to it that, you can't quite, it feels human. That's what it is. It feels
Mhm.
human. And I dig that. So, needless to say, I saw that in what I could see of Hard Edge. Now, to be fair, they were very quick clips that you did on your phone. But I do
Yeah, yeah.
remember, I also do remember, because like a dog with a bone, when I have an idea in my head, it's sometimes hard to let it go. I do remember probably annoying you. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like it probably would have been annoying the level of times I told you, you need to hurry up and get this digitized, because I didn't want something to happen to it. Like, I know, look, I love tape, I love physical media, but
Yeah.
at least if you've got a digital backup copy, you can make further physical copies. That thing gets broken, you're screwed, or it's going to cost a lot more money to get somebody to repair it, and that kind of thing. So, I am very happy and very thankful you were able to get it digitized.
I did. I like the review from your son. I can't remember who said it, but you showed it to him,
Yes.
and he had the comment of, "I'd actually kinda like to see that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
kinda wanna
It
watch
was.
that."
I think all three of them were like surprised. 'Cause actually, look, they've sat through like Wood Chipper Massacre with me. They've sat through Ozone, and they actually did. They liked, actually. Oh, they loved Ozone, legitimately. The
Mm.
Jared Bookwalter Ozone. I found out. Somebody told me recently there's another Ozone from around the same time frame, I guess, or maybe it's the '80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think the more they described it, like, I felt like maybe that title I'd heard of, but in my mind,
Mm,
Ozone's the Bookwalter film. And so they've seen several of these movies, so
mhm.
they kind of have an expectation at this point. And so again, when I showed them your trailer, they were like, "Holy crap!" Yeah, I think it was Cotter. He's like, "I actually really want to see that."
Oh, that's cool, that's cool.
Yeah.
See, it's funny though, that's where I still kind of feel like we're in a tug and war with it though, tug of war with it, because 'cause I'm so, afraid, probably needlessly, but still worried about it occasionally, that once it's all finished and we start shopping it around,
Mhm.
they'll be like, Well, it's not as bad as we were hoping it would be. You guys just
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah.
could you made it
No,
a little worse?
no, no, no. And I think it also comes down to just, to me, first off, bad is one of those words that's extremely relative, especially if we're talking about quality of art. But I think it's also comes down to, is it entertaining?
Yeah,
And if the answer is yes, then win. You win. Seriously, like that you win, because there's plenty of things that are beautiful and good by someone's standards, you know? I mean, when I look at
right.
some of the at this point, I've been done with the Academy Awards for a very long time, but when I look at some of the movies that get nominated, yeah, I'm like, wow, okay, cool, cool.
Especially this year.
Oh yeah, especially this year, yeah. And I'm like, wow, all right, cool, 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 cool. Standards be damned. So all that being said, um, I feel like Hard Edge looks like it's very entertaining. I also love that you have a location set at a video store. Like, I think it's actually, just purely from a marketing perspective, is an awesome selling point, because, as one who literally has a freaking like half a video store in his house, um, I think that will totally be a cool selling point for people, is like to see, because it's not like you faked a video store now. You know what I mean? Trying to recreate. It's like,
In
no,
your
it was
garage or
available to
something,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
authentically, it was available to you, and you did it.
and what's funny is when we went back during COVID to start the documentary, which will be the project that comes after this, we went back to that video store, and it's a trip because it's only half of a video store now.
Mhm.
It's so bizarre. It's a part wig shop and part like general convenience store. So like
That's
over
really
here on the
weird.
right hand side, you can buy lottery tickets, a wig, and then you go to the left and there's the video store, which of course is all Blu-rays now and
Yeah.
DVDs.
Do they
So
rent, or are they for sale, or both?
both,
Okay.
yeah, so it's very bizarre. So to revisit it was kinda strange, walking into the same place going, it's not really the same anymore."
Yeah.
But the really weird part was the owner of the shop currently has no memory of the previous owner, Brian, who was the one who allowed us to shoot in the store. So
Yeah.
all I can think of is maybe one family sold it to another family
Uh-huh.
because it stayed, a Korean-owned business. But Joel also, aside from being a producer to help out trying to figure out what we're going to do with this thing, he also acted in it, at least voice acted,
Mhm.
as one of two DJs that we've added to the storyline in our attempt to go ahead and kind of build a mood and a feel for the city that we created. Because it takes place in a mythical city called Regent City.
Mhm.
I was like, hey, we need some radio spots. Wouldn't that be cool? We could do a DJ. I started writing a DJ, and the first person I thought of was Joel.
You're listening to Region City Radio RCDD.
Double D! You know how I like 'em, Stevie. Nothing less than a handful.
You're a sick man, Dean Boy. That's why I love ya. All right, people, that traffic ain't gonna get easier out there for the rest of the commute.
That's for sure. There's a backup on the main high-rise bridge coming out of Hillside. Detours in Mason Hall have exits 11 and 14 at a standstill.
And if you think that's Carmageddon out there, it's just a preview of next week. Ain't that right?
That's right, baby. Because next week a little badass named Amy Ember is hitting the streets of Regent City with her first ever tour.
Oh, Dean Boy, the time has come. Hear me now.
Someone gonna throw themselves at her feet?
I'm gonna throw something.
Well, speaking of Amy Ember, here's a track from her new album called More Than Enough.
Oh, she's more than enough for me. My God.
Dude, you and Mike, your next door neighbor, blew it out of the water, dude.
Yep. Mike Kawadi, my buddy, my neighbor, and the star of my little short film that we did over the Christmas season, Gift Wrapped. Yeah, he's great, dude. So
Mhm.
I feel like I could totally speak for both of us here when I say we both had a blast, because we basically were in the video shop where we recorded it,
Mhm.
and I had this like mic holder, and I had these two like pencil mics, and so he's like, we're literally like, a foot away from each other, as if we're in like a radio kind of scenario. And so we were able to kind of like right there, riff off of each other. And it was funny. Like, we did a couple takes, and it was fine. But then, it's interesting how like you feel it, like you feel like, oh, okay, that was cool. Like, that felt a little bit more, you know, fluid and fun.
Yeah, you
And
get the energy going at
yeah, it
that
was
point.
definitely more yeah, you could feel like yeah, it was cool. It was fun, man. I appreciate you for even asking us to do it.
No, I loved it, and and you've probably done this with what you've shot before. It's much easier, obviously, to go to people to say, because even if you see, a cool looking person walking down the street, it's like, hey, this is gonna sound bizarre from a grown
Yeah,
man,
I
but
would
you
have
want to
put
come
you in a
back to my
movie.
house and be in a
Be in a
movie?
movie.
That's been my wife's comment all the time. She goes, if you see a girl that's gonna fit, you just
Yeah.
always you have validity. It's like, no, see, there's my wife.
Yeah,
Okay, that
yes,
sounds
yes.
bad too, probably.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
so when you get someone, and when I wrote it, I'm like, who would do perfect for this? It was you.
Yes.
Did so you did you, would it be safe to say you weren't really acting? It's just like, I'm just gonna be me? Because to be honest, hearing it, it did sound that you had more inflection in your voice on certain things, like you were actually acting. Am I right
I
there?
think I no, I tried to make it a little bit more like I thought about because I used to like obsessively listen to we out of Orlando here, we have a station called Real Radio 104.1. It was the one that Stern was on back in the 90's, when he was actually still
Okay.
funny. And it's like that kind of sensibility though. So I listened to it a lot when I was like in high school and college. So I listened, and then there's also the like Q105 was a big one in this area. It's always that like not just a shock jock, but just that whole like, hey, welcome to there's a little of that, and so I don't know, I kind of like the idea of being a little bit more like, oh, all right, let's, yeah, Racks and Stacks is the best on wax. It's
See,
boss.
See, what's cool though is, and again, you being a creative, maybe it's easier, but I've had this experience just recently with what we shot a few days ago. It's great when someone can read it and they almost just read your mind. They're kind of like, oh no, I see exactly how you want to say this. Because when you get to the line where you talk about Amy Ember and you're like, oh my God,
Yeah, yeah.
just the way you
Oh
said it was
my
just dead on.
God.
Yeah, I didn't need to call you back and go, I was kind of weak.
Yeah.
If you
Could
give
you
me a
could
little
you
more oomph,
sound like you actually are into her, please? A little bit?
can you give me a little more oomph on the O and a little less on the
Yeah.
G? Can you
Yeah,
do that
yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit?
yeah, yeah.
So I thought that was great. And Mike, man, but Mike, you said, is a professional actor or
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah,
semi-professional?
he has been in several things. He's done some commercial work. He's been in some features. He used to live in New York City. I think I was specifically
Okay.
Long Island, and so I guess to go into the city and do jobs. So he's been like in several things. So yeah, and honestly, that was the thing when he agreed to be in Gift Wrapped. I was figuring, okay, it'd be cool because I mean, I knew he at least had some experience, right? He would hopefully not be completely frozen in front of the camera. That's always the thing you're most worried about. I mean, I shot that on an iPhone, which I love shooting on because I think because people are so used to phones being around now, it's even if you've
Mhm.
got it like a holder or something, it's less intrusive and people don't feel as weird about it. But like there's like little moments in that I was shocked at how good. Like, you really pay attention, like when it's like, and
Oh
all
yeah.
I give a very basic direction, but like when he goes to open the box, I don't want to give anything away because it's definitely should check out the short film. I don't want to spoil it. But there's a point where he gets the box and he has this moment like he's going to open. He's tired of waiting for his wife. He's going to open. He just does the way he pauses. Like,
Mhm.
fine. He pulls out this phone, and I didn't really tell him to do any of that. I'm just like, hey, you're waiting for her to show up. You get the box. But okay, now we're gonna go. And then literally my direction was things like, all right, you frame this direction, sit, go a little fat, like that kind of. But
Right.
that was all him. And I was like, I'm editing it, I'm like, dang man, he actually did really good. Little because there's not a lot of dialogue. It's mostly him going, yo, you gotta hurry up or what?
You're
That's
sitting there
all.
editing it. You're editing, and you're just like, look at you acting your ass off. Look at
Yeah,
this. This is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It was great. I thought he did fantastic. So, yeah, and it was just a lot of fun because he's a very cool, fun guy. He basically the way he sounds on. I mean, I'm not saying he does say we have those conversations, but that
Right.
sort of back and forth, like he's
The banter, yeah.
yeah, the banter.
See, the banter came off extremely believable to me.
Yeah,
Like, you really have been doing this job for years as DJs
yeah,
and, every morning, chucking it up and everything. I think
yeah.
very believable.
Well, thanks, man.
And I think, and I don't know if this is the product of our time now currently.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, first of all, one of the things you did, because we recorded some additional stuff, you went back and did some more stuff.
And I still
What's
owe you, by the way.
interesting,
It's not. I literally, as we got on the call, I'm like, oh
uh,
crap, I still
I
have
didn't
a
send him that
file
one
I've got
thing.
to send him. Yes.
But remember, you did initial dry run and then you guys went in again. And
Yeah.
what was cool, it's the neat thing of putting on a show. It's
Hmm.
like you guys went and did it the first time, and then it's almost like I can imagine you guys talking back and forth, seeing each other in the yard or whatever. It's like,
Hmm.
you know what? If we did this one thing again, we could.
Hmm.
It's the whole idea of having so much fun and love
Hmm.
for it to go. Hey, let's take another stab at it. Just the
Hmm.
art of creativity coming
Yes,
together.
I totally
There's
get
something
that. Yeah.
about when regular people get away from their ho hum lives.
Yep.
It's probably one of the things I love so much about Hustle and Flow,
Mm.
because you have all these people who have given up on that particular dream or never explored that dream, and here they are chucking away at it.
Yeah.
And I need to get this microphone, I need to do this, and
Yeah.
it's just everyone comes together to, again, the little rascals kind of, let's
Yeah.
put on a show, let's see what we can do, kind of a
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And
And I think to your point too about like our age, and I think there's
Mhm,
this there used to be, and for some people I'm sure there very much still is, this attitude like, oh, I'm getting up in years, therefore my time has passed, therefore I cannot do things. I I say bullshit. I think the late bloomer is totally a legitimate thing. In fact, you go back through history, like all the people that ended up doing like amazing things, like so much later in life, is
mhm,
because if you think about it, you've had some life experience and you've actually, lived a little. You've had enough interactions with people. You know how realistically somebody might react in the craziest of situations. And it gives you insights that you wouldn't have otherwise had. But I think that you and I both, when you said the thing about the creativity and seeing it, like I'm, having not only are you going back and trying to kind of rekindle what you always wanted with just to make movies. I've been doing the same thing, and it's like I'm
mhm,
noticing, like I'm treating literally every single thing I'm doing now as an experiment, and each experiment has its like goal, and the goal is simply something. It could be as simple as pay attention to the point where I start taking stuff too serious and
right.
where I'm too devoted to my shot list and not willing to, it's not that I'm not willing like externally to, as far as anybody around me is concerned, but you can feel it when your ego kicks. It's like, I really need to get that. No, it's got to be that way. And it's like, but what I noticed is with gift wrap, when we did that, because my son plays the weirdo that comes up with the box. And he's not got any really acting experience. That whole scene, like he was just supposed to bring it up and go special delivery and then walk away. Like that's all he's gonna do. He added in the weird face. He added in the special
My
special.
favorite part of the movie. Truly, I love
The,
that part.
the special special. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Oh,
that.
dude. And it's hilarious. That was an off the cut. And I could have been like, well, no, Max, it says say special delivery. No one's gonna know what special means. And yet weirdly in the because I was present, right? It's all because see, when I was 22, I wasn't present. Weirdly, because actually when you're younger, though, you actually tend to be more in the moment. But I feel like I was always thinking about like, oh, what I want the future to look like. This I was as present as I could reasonably be. And I just remember when he did that thinking, oh yeah, no, that's cool. I like that. And I just
Yeah.
went with my gut. And that is the one piece of that goofy and silly little short film that I've had more people text me after they see it go, that's all they say. Special, special.
Special. I was gonna say, as much as I love your poster, the only thing missing from the poster is for its slogan to simply be "Special,
Special,
Special."
special. And it's funny because when I got the guy to do it, it was very short notice. And if I had more time, I would have loved to. And maybe I could get him
Mhm.
down the road to do. I initially wanted the offerings type poster, but I wanted it to be more evident that it was Max. I wanted it to have the hat, like the outline of the hat, maybe a little glint off the glasses. You know what I
Right.
mean? And yeah, that
Yeah.
kind of vibe, but it's still obviously the offerings poster. And then yes,
Mhm.
and you're right. And then it just changes to say special, special.
I think you should do a sequel next
I
Christmas, and it'll be a
Yeah.
whole different scenario
Oh,
with a
I
whole
love your
different package.
idea. I love your idea. We should do like an anthology series where it's just each episode is somebody gets a different package in a different way.
I was
And
so prepared to do that, and we were trying to do it, and our tree died by that time. By the time I was getting
there's
around to
always
shooting
this
it and
Christmas,
everything,
my friend.
so it's like,
There's
either
always the
that
next Christmas.
or next time I'm at Goodwill and I see like a cheap artificial tree, it's like buy it and we'll shoot it in July or
And
something.
I still have the three of I bought 4 of those boxes from like Hobby
Mhm.
Lobby.
I
And
remember you were on the phone with me the day you were
yeah, that's
getting
right.
them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
because what well, first off, so they put these freaking I needed a box that was like square and about the size of a human head. And I wanted it to be the kind where you could lift the entire top off. You know what I'm talking
Mhm.
about? Like a very kind of
Yeah.
old school, almost like a hat box. But all they had were these ones that lifted kind of back with like almost like a magnet on the front.
Right.
I was like,
A
fine,
hinge,
that'll
yeah.
work. Yeah, but they were all like 25 feet in the air. They had none of them at the ground level. And then when they would bring them down, they were all jacked up and broken. And then I told you, weren't you on the phone with me? I said, oh crap, I should have told him to give me the garbage one and like sell it to me for like $2.
Yeah. We use it as a stunt box later or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I'll have several of those so we can actually, I am thinking, and then I'll tell you this now. So I'm supposed to this weekend, we're shooting a promo for our local drive-in. I got with the
Oh, nice.
owner and we're going to get to do like a little promo because they wanted something done kind of like they used to have like one of those old school, like, hurry down to because they have a swap shop flea market they do every weekend. And so that's what they're trying to promote. And they used to play it before movies. Well, once they switched over to digital projection, I guess the 35 millimeter trailer, whatever they had that on, got lost. They don't know where it's at. So the audio, though, was the same that they found an old YouTube video that had the exact same audio. So I'm thinking it must be one of the things that all drive-ins used and would just maybe apply their own visuals to it, that kind of thing. And so I'm going to take that audio and we're going to shoot some footage. And I'm going to also do a separate promo with this great guy I've gotten to know named Dewey Sean. I know I've told you about him. He's a comedian and, he's just a really great guy, very into nostalgia. Like he has a whole like social media thing where he just promotes all this nostalgia stuff. And he's going to be almost like my Ernest P. Worrell, like a pitch man kind of thing. And we're going to do like it's like separate ones. But anyway, I bring all of that up to say that I'm going to try to have like a Where's Waldo moment. And where, even though it's going to be like 80 degrees this Sunday, I think I got the hat and the glasses and Max's jacket in that box. And I'm just going to have him like at a table in the background somewhere and just lifting it up and like just turning and walking.
He's going to be he's going to be like basket case
yes.
showing up in brain damage.
Yes.
On the,
or the Sam Raimi Buick. It's a Buick, right? The car that they have in every single freaking movie. Like just at that little, like he's always in the background.
I think that's excellent. That's cool. You're creating the Joel Robertson cinematic universe. That's what you're creating.
Yes, and it's as sad as you would expect it to be.
Oh, stop it. But it's interesting how you mentioned the whole thing about, obviously it's never too late to do anything. Late bloomers that's a normal thing that happens. I find myself revisiting this going, oh, wow, that was kind of stupid how I did that. Or this was that plot element was kind of weak. It's like, couldn't they have just done this basically?
Yes.
And that's interesting because it leads me to the question of now that you're directing again, because prior to Gift Wrapped, you hadn't directed anything in a bit, right?
2007 was my last like more narrative, and it was very shot on video-esque. We shot it like on a mini DV camera. It was actually my cousin at the time was just a manager at a local credit union bank that we have in the Central Florida area. And tell me if this isn't the coolest like corporate-y team building thing you've ever heard of. They decided all the branches as a team building exercise would do their own horror movie, and then they would do their own little horror film festival at Halloween. Like,
oh, that's beautiful.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Like, forget that ropes course nonsense and all these other corporate shills
survivalist kind of things. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, no, that's awesome. So he asked me to do it, and he loves to brag to everybody we won. So
I picture you going, it's like, hey, we're doing this team building thing. You're like, oh God. And we're just trying to make a horror film.
Yeah. Is that what? Exactly. It was like, he's like, hey, my cousin's literally the same, and he's in Gift Wrap. He's the monster that goes over Mike's shoulder at the end. It's the exact same guy. And it's funny because growing up, he was like an older brother. He's like 5 years older than me. And he was like the first person that ever really got me into, along with my friend JL, horror movies. Like my first like Friday the 13th movie I saw with Chris, he also, my very first earliest memory of making anything where I'm like 8 or 9 years old. And it was the original old school Star Wars figures and these rubber gorillas that he had. And we tried to do stop motion with his dad's VHS camera, which if you know anything about VHS, not really made for stop motion.
No. If anything, it's very erratic slow motion.
Yeah, very, very erratic. Very, yeah. It was like that. Yes. I wish I still had it though. But okay, what did you ask me? I think I derailed us.
Because no, you're fine. You're fine. Because I was going to say stay on target. Stay on target.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself now directing something like I said, the whole thing about me going, that storyline kind of weak there. Do you find like what are your feelings on directing something now? And you go, oh wow, I'm so much different, and not just from maybe you were pretentious back then, but literally, how do you feel directing? Like, do you feel even more confident in a sense in what you're doing as opposed to back then?
Yeah, I'll say yes, but probably not in the way one would think, because it's not like an
Right.
ego thing. And I will say too, I had done the thing that's what I was gonna hit on. Since 2007, I did a couple little things here and there, but by and I made like a couple of short films with my kids when they were younger. But they were like kind of some fun little thing that we just did, to mess around. And
Mhm.
then I did right before Gift Wrapped, I had done that thing. My cousin had a
Mhm.
haunt. They do this huge haunt, and I had done like a little kind of mini overview doc. But it's kind of like the kind of thing you put on our YouTube channel. Like other than the YouTube stuff, no. To
Right.
answer your original question. Now, moving on to the new thing. It's funny. I feel more confident, but not for the reasons I would have thought in my early 20s. Like I thought in my early 20s, oh, you'd be
Right.
more confident because like, oh, you got all this experience now and you know what you're doing and blah blah. No, not that at all. I think what it is, I accept how little I know. Like I'm
Right.
okay with screwing up. I literally am approaching it. I have to. It's like it's not like I'm some guru here who's like, oh, I got it all figured out by any stretch of imagination. I just have a mantra where I'm just in my head. This could all be a disaster. Like and I'm
Right.
okay
Right.
with. And I'm okay with that. And I mean it. Like I legit, it's like, yeah, it would suck. It would suck to spend all that time and energy on something and it just be garbage. But okay, if it is, it is. It's like otherwise I get too bunched up. You know what I mean? I get too much like, oh,
Mhm.
and I still do. I still have like ideas and things that I get too precious about this, that, and the other thing. But I always have to back off and be like, it's like with gift wrap. The reason why that got done is because I thought, okay, I have this idea. It was a and we've been working on I'm doing video productions with my kids actually. And I
Mhm.
wanted a short film or something for us to work on. And we had a couple ideas and they had this one script that they worked on. But it involved needed too many people and like a bowling alley and things we didn't have immediate access to. Um,
Right.
so I was like, look, what would be like the simplest thing? I was like, a guy, somebody rings a doorbell, a guy gets a weird package delivered to him, and
Mhm.
let's go from there. And I will tell you now, and somebody could judge me on this if they will, and I would not want to use AI to be like a creative thing. Like I would say, like, oh, write me a script on blah blah blah, go. Like I would hate that.
Right.
But as an assistant, because I'm the kind of person, and I know I can only bug my friends so often, I can only call you so often, I can only call Tyson so often. At some point, especially if like I'm sitting there and it's like 7 o'clock in the morning and I know you guys are probably still asleep. And I want to bounce ideas, right? And I will tell you,
Mhm.
anybody out there, because you could do it for free or you can pay the $20 a month for ChatGPT as a idea generator, it's freaking amazing. Like it's legit an amazing tool. Now, again, I wouldn't want it to do anything else for me, but with gift wrap, I basically said, okay, I put in like a stream of consciousness because that's where a lot of my stuff, it's like just brain dump. And then I need to be organized. Like that's the hard part for me is okay, how do I pull these threads together so it makes sense? Well, this
Mhm.
machine that's basically designed to find patterns and make sense of things could maybe help me do that. So the creativity is all coming for me, but then I'm like, help me figure this out. And it's like it gave me suggestions. Now, some of them were absolute dog crap, but then there was like it said one little thing. I was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden I kind of created an outline and then I was off to the races. Write this, 2-3 page script. It wasn't very long. Maybe it's 4 pages, whatever. And it was just I just kept telling myself, like, all right, we're gonna shoot this on December 1st. I knew my cousin, his wife is like one of these people that does like, and I mean this in a very positive, complimentary way, goes crazy for
Mhm.
Christmas in the same way he does Halloween. She has like multiple Christmas trees, decorations everywhere, like a month before Christmas, that kind of thing. I was like, that is a location I don't have to dress. so so other than some lights in the background, like I got those little electric candles and I kind of put them everywhere just to make the background pop a little bit.
Right.
But other than that, it was all the way. And I just knew. And so we shot it on December 1st. It was mostly edited within a week. And then that next Sunday, the whole last shot, which I won't give away because I don't want to spoil the amazing conclusion of Gift Wrap. But as absurd and ridiculous as it all is, that whole idea came about after the fact that was not the movie. That's not in the script. It was I was walking to dinner and I'd finished editing and it's like, something about you feel it. It's like a feeling. Like to me, editing is
Yeah.
my favorite part of the process, quite honestly. And I mean, I love coming up with ideas, but then I start to pick them apart. Editing to me is great. It's like putting together a puzzle. I have all the pieces. There's nothing I can do now to fix it other than to figure out how to put it together in an interesting way. So,
Right.
but I'm like, I put most of it together. I was like, the ending's just like, eh, it's whatever. It's fine. It's a thing. It ends. But then I had this image in my head of what is there, and you'll see the movie. You'll know what I'm talking about. And I started to laugh. I was like, that's freaking hilarious, especially since what you think should be there is totally not what's there. And
Right.
so, and then the whole like, and I feel like I don't think we've actually. I need to do like a behind the scenes thing at some point on my channel too, where I could discuss how ridiculous it was to get that final effect and everything. Because it took forever. My poor kid, he had to like lay on the ground with this box on him for like an hour. But basically that, and so that was like totally shot separately, and then I put
Mhm.
it together, and then I had Matt Cannon, who I had interviewed on the show,
Yeah.
who did the music, and I reached out to him, and he was like, "Dude, I know you." And that's the other thing, as I set a deadline for. I said, "You know what? I had to have it delivered." At the time, I thought it was like the 20th or 21st. I think they ended up bumping it to like the 31st. But this local con we have here called Tampa Bay Screams was going to have a film festival, and the deadline at the time was like December 20th, 21st. I was like, okay, that's like a week or 10 days away. I was like, I know it's a super short notice, and I'll pay you a little something. Can you do this? He's like, yeah, man. I've always wanted to do a Christmas horror movie. So I did like some one of my favorite movies. I always wanted to do something like that. I was like, bro, let's do it. So he did it and turned it around in like less than a week for me. And then the guy David that I got to do the poster again, same thing. Hey, I met him because Chris Seaver had done Death of Lantern 3, and the poster on their Blu-ray was done by this guy. And I had asked him, I was
Right.
like, hey man, who did that poster? Because I heard him make a comment about it at like a show or something. And he's like, yeah, it's this guy. It's really nice on Instagram. And I reached out. The guy's like, yeah, man, I can do it for this amount. And it was very cheap. I was like, holy crap. Oh, yeah, all right, let's do it. And it was just like everything kind of boom, boom. But it was because feel like I didn't try to control it. Does that, you know what I mean? Like I knew I had to
Yeah.
lead it. I had to take the steps necessary to make it happen. But it wasn't like I was forcing it. I didn't feel like I was
Mhm.
like, oh, you know, because that's how I was with everything in the past. And I was always miserable. You know what I mean? It's like, why even do this if I'm going to be miserable?
See, I know. I remember when we were comparing war stories, if you will, about
Mhm.
okay, what was it like when you made yours, and and it was funny because you're just like, damn it, no, I didn't have that feeling, Rick. I didn't have that feeling of
Yeah.
just a bunch of people getting together and having fun making this thing, if you will. Um,
I will say I did have moments of that feeling because some of the actors that were in my movie
mhm,
were actual people who had done stuff, and
right,
they were really just good. They were just fun people. You know what I mean? The way they were, and like there was a couple moments, and it's funny looking back on it, the moments where we were almost kind of just riffing and improving and just kind of going with stuff. Those were my favorite moments. I think with the problem I had with my feature was I was so at that time. It's the late 90s. I like I was in high school during that whole like Sundance, all the guys, El Mariachi comes out, and you're like, oh, I got to make a movie and get it into Sundance. That became like this thing, which is in hindsight's hilarious. And, and I just, so my mindset was too like in the future, about all that. I
mhm,
think if I had just been like, yeah, okay, yeah, it'd be cool if it could happen. I just needed to chill the F out. I think that's where I'm going with this whole thing. I just needed to
right,
chill
right.
the F out. And that's the difference. That's why I feel more confident, but maybe what it is, I'm just not as uptight. I'm just having fun. And I think that's my goal. I have one word to describe anything I'm doing besides experiment. It's fun. That's why I want to do Hard Edge with you, because it's fun.
Shooting the next day, it was fun to get back into that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because I was talking to my 14-year-old. I asked her, how she felt about it, and she started talking about that because she wants to make her own stuff, and she's actually doing Bedsheet, that little short film
Yep.
idea.
Yep.
She said, she goes, I like how just kind of laid back you are. You just kind of you ask everyone what their dialogue. Okay, does it sound comfortable coming out of you? Is there something you need to change to make
Mm-hmm.
it work better for you? And that's what we did. We would find like the phrase my father used to tell me, there's more than one ways to the grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the thing. How do we all get to the same destination? As
Yep.
long as we get there
Yep.
and you're comfortable, that's what I need out of you, because again, you're not a professional actor, so whatever
Yep.
it takes for you to be comfortable in it.
Yep. Yep.
And that was just it was that thing, and you probably do the same thing. You work so hard to get to the shoot, you
Mm-hmm.
get whatever written, you get your people all planned, and then the shoot just goes by so quickly. And I I think I forgot how much I love, as much as I love editing, I think I forgot how much I love shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see a lot of those, clips that you've seen of Hard Edge so far, we were all over the island of Alameda, for like 4 days straight making this movie. And it was just, it was so fun and exhilarating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had no money to pull anything off, but it was just, it was like the truest kind of creativity that I could, put out there at the time.
Yeah.
So, uh, and I think that's why I'm looking forward to. Once we get this done, then we get to move on the next project,
Yep.
stuff I want to work on with you, the documentary, just so many other things I want to work on currently.
Yeah, especially if there's any like a cop movies that involve the undead, maybe.
I know. I still owe you that along with your Christmas present. Yeah.
You knew that was coming at some point. Got to play the
on the
dead cop
upside.
card.
Spookala has Tobin Bell coming this
Yep.
year,
Yep.
and my daughter, that's on her 14-year-old bucket list. She's got a
Yeah,
bucket list.
yeah.
If you can have a kid bucket list. She met Shawnee Smith before, and it was like a spiritual experience for her because she loves that actor so much due to Saw. So to meet Tobin is like a huge thing. So worst case, you'll be handed it in person.
Yep.
But I want to go and show you my buddy Sean, who stars as Greg in the movie, and it's just cool directing him all over again, which is interesting,
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. All right, we're gonna start with the ring.
Hello?
We need to talk.
Where in the hell are you? I should have been at the club a half hour ago. So do I need to call a cab?
Look, I need some answers out of you on something, and I need you to think really hard about those answers.
Yeah, sure.
Hear from Sammy?
No, but a couple weeks ago, maybe.
What about his boyfriend, Maddox?
Oh, Jailbird? Oh, yeah, we talked around the same time.
Talk to him? What does that even mean? Like, you called him? Or he called you? Have you seen him? Don't fuck with me.
Jesus, Greg. What did I say? I haven't talked to either of them. I haven't seen either of them. And while we're at it, who the fuck are you to talk to me like that? You aren't Jack, so save your shit for someone who cares. Are you coming, or do I need to call another mob cab?
Don't get smart with me. Stay there. If they show up at your doorstep, you better call me. Understood?
Yes, sir. Fuck you, sir.
Dude, I love that. Who was on the phone with him?
That's Maddie. That's
dude, she was great too.
Oh yeah, she did a wonderful job, man.
It had there was a good rhythm back and forth. That was great. Did they do it one take?
Oh no. We did a lot of takes. No, but I don't know if you've ever experienced this. Have you ever done a rehearsal and it was better? It was like perfect, and you're like, oh my god, I wish I shot that.
Yeah, that's why honestly, I sometimes will say things like, oh yeah, we're just gonna rehearse this, and I'm just gonna because now, especially now, so with gift wrapped and honestly, and we're gonna be premiering this on as we record this. I don't know, is this gonna drop within the next week?
Probably the next couple of days. Yeah.
Okay. So on February 2nd on the Mom and Pop Video Shop channel, we're going to be premiering on that Monday the Phantom Foundry Wax Company candle company's commercials that I shot for Tyson. Right? Yeah. And now so we did gift wrapped, we did this, the commercial, and my son Connor, he was actually like my cameraman on both of them. And so it's funny, like getting back to our discussion about all the previous stuff. In the day, I always felt like I had to do camera. Like weirdly, I felt like if I wasn't on camera, it was almost like it wasn't my movie. I don't know why I had that in my head, but now that those last two times, I have a couple shots, I needed him to do something else. But most like 95% of it, he's on the camera. And I love, like from a directing point of view, I actually like that. I like being able to separate myself from the technology part of it and just watch the person and be engaged in it. And so like versus like watching Sean and Maddie. I'm not saying not watching Maddie, hearing her, but you get I'm saying there's something about like just being able to deserve that. And so if I wanted to ask you, he's filming him because where's he at? Ballpark.
He's in California.
That's what I thought.
He's in California. So he was shooting it just for he talks like us. It's like, oh, you can use it for the documentary later. So anything he's been doing on his end, he's been
getting video as well. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So you're basically you're shooting her with the SVHS, and his voice will be coming up over the phone
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, but it's wild because it reminds me of when you see the behind the scenes of an animated movie,
Yeah.
and you see the actor in jogging pants inside of a booth, kind of a deal.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it
That's great.
reminded me of, and
That's
and
great.
it's cute because he's still acting. You
Yeah.
see him do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
and that was the charge that I got. Like after we wrote it and everything, to hear it come out of people,
Yeah.
and it's
Good
just
dialogue, by the way.
yeah. Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
uh,
I love
uh,
that. I love that last line that she threw it at him. That was great. Loved it.
The inflection on that and what was funny was, of course, we know it from Day of the Dead. It's an homage to that,
Yeah.
it's like, you're not gonna dope up any of my men, woman, it's like, yes,
Yeah.
sir, fuck you, sir.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's the way she
but
delivers. Great.
she, because she's younger, she was like, I had imagined how people talk on the bear. And I'm like, oh, that's
Ah!
wonderful. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
excellent. I thought you would like that actually. So
Oh yeah, God, yeah. I mean, I can like if anybody I'm working with goes, yeah, I'm going to use the bear as my reference point. Please do. Oh, and I think I probably have told this story, but I feel like I should say it publicly on a podcast to further humiliate myself. I remember the first scene we shot, which in hindsight was stupid. It was a dinner scene. Okay, it's when Martin's at his brother's house and Marion comes over for dinner unexpected because basically they're trying to play. Martin's brother and sister-in-law are trying to play, matchmaker,
yeah.
and shooting a dinner scene, your first scene at the beginning of a feature shoot, isn't great because it's fairly boring. And it's a lot of like, okay, get a bunch of stuff from this angle, and then and it was kind of boring. I'm just being straight with you, even though it's like the first day, so I should be totally pumped that I was at first, but it was kind of a long day. And I said out loud in front of my actors, "Oh God, I need to do like an action movie or something after this." Like I was like immediately poo-pooing everything we
They
were.
had done at that point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like like at the time, totally like blissfully unaware of how stupid and crappy that was to say. And like years later, I remember I don't know, something triggered the memory. I was like, "Oh my God, you freak!"
I,
Even if you're thinking it, you don't say that, idiot.
I picture you at like 7-Eleven or the grocery store going, did I say that?
Did it? Yeah, I've done that where I like have that more like,
788, sir. Oh, okay.
oh what?
Sorry.
Oh, like I'm sweating. I'm like,
It's the Jordan Peele thing with
yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah.
See, and it's funny. So when you're like for me, I will do shot lists, but I don't do storyboarding at all. And there was a screenwriting podcast I listened to where they were talking about sometimes people get so obsessed with the details of what they're writing. They
Yep.
want to know they're writing every little nuance in the hotel room. And the advice given to them was don't do that because you know
Yeah.
what? That's the production designer's job.
Yeah.
They're not going to care about these nuances,
Exactly.
and wherever you decide to shoot, be it
Yep.
an actual location or a set, it's all going to change anyways.
Yep.
So just put the details of what people are doing.
Yep.
And me, since I'm always the cameraman usually, I've heard Romero say this, and Rodriguez have said this. You already know how you're going to cut it while you're shooting it for the most part. So even if you do additional takes from different angles, like I try to do 3, I try to do a wide, a close up, and a mid shot.
Cover your ass.
Yeah, as long as I have those shots, I'm good.
You could do a scene. Yeah. Yep.
So have you ever done storyboards, or you're like, no, maybe a shot list at the most?
So
Are you on the
so
fly?
ready. So the one movie that I had my best friend in high school and in college, his name was Jason, and he was a really great artist, like really great at drawing. And he and I would, had made stuff because he was in my video productions class at high school, and we ended up going to first couple years of college together, and we were going to make a short film, and it was kind of like based on the urban legend of like the babysitter alone in the house kind of thing. And I had him. I wrote like a detailed text-based, like every shot in the order, blah blah blah, and he gave me literal like 8x10 corresponding. We had like it was like for a short film, it was like this high stack. We got almost nothing done. Like it was so it was weird. It was like you would think like, oh, okay, get that shot. No, it was something about it caused me to bunch up to such a degree that I literally it's the only time I've ever done it and the last time. I've never had stories. I feel like storyboards would be very helpful if you were doing a very like visual effects heavy film or something with a lot of like in-depth stunts so that your stunt coordinator people could know, what's going to be in the frame, what, that kind of thing. But personally, I think the funniest part about all of it is what I've learned about myself And it's not that I've made like a ton of documentaries. I've done like a lot of like, you know, like an overview of a haunt, or I mean, when I was younger, my dad was a math teacher. They had something called math camp. Yes, that was a thing, and it was for like these. It was basically for like these like at risk, kids at the middle school he taught at, and it was kind of fun. It was shockingly fun. You know, math camp, what the hell? But it's actually the kids had a lot of fun. But I shot like doc footage of that. It was almost used like most like promotional material. So, but what I learned is like even though I like making fictional movies, I kind of like shooting them more run and gun documentary style. Like I like that surprise feeling. So like for instance, I already for the Silver Moon thing that I'm going to do, the drive-in, I'm going to do a detail. I have a good detail shot. It's not a lot of shots, but I've got the shot list laid out and it's sort of like in the order in my mind of how they were going to probably cut together. But and same thing with gift wrap, I'll probably start there and then I'll look at it and within the first 30 minutes, I will not look at it again. Like it'll just be me getting, and I'll just get what I need to get. And it's more that kind of spontaneous. Oh wait, no, let's try this. And that's gives me the juice, that's what
I
gives
agree.
me,
I agree. Yeah. Cause it's just fun, it's exciting to say,
a
okay,
lot more fun.
because if you have the stumbling block of, well, this is what I envisioned. And then you get there and the set isn't working for you.
Yeah. Yes.
And it just makes you work harder. Like, oh, well, crap. How do I get to that point still and get the same basic idea, as opposed to you get there, you're like, okay, this can work. I can be over here. There's just something about that's more just exciting and intriguing about the whole process of directing in the first place. Really. Well, I tell you what, man, it's been freaking awesome bringing you on to this episode, which I'm sure you're going to be on other ones the more we get closer into the production or further into the production and everything. And I guess we'll just go out with, what are you looking forward to in terms of in the near future with projects and everything? What do you got going on outside of the podcast and stuff?
I'm most looking forward to holding a signed VHS copy of Hard Edge. So there's that. And having maybe a poster on my wall of Hard Edge. That'd be cool. And with my own stuff. So I'm actually legit Jones to do the Silver Moon thing, because like I said, I love drive-ins in general, but I love that drive-in. I've gone there for years off and on, and the owner's super cool, really nice guy. He actually inherited his grandfather, is named Harold Spears, and he had owned it for like decades. And it was like, this guy was cool because he was like old school movie theater man. Like I don't know if you had a Floyd Theater back in the day in your neck of the woods, but Floyd Theaters was in Florida and I think in the Southeast in general. And he had worked for Mr. Floyd of Floyd Theaters. And I think Floyd Theaters may have owned that drive-in at some point, and then he took it over from them. And so I had actually interviewed him for a doc that I wanted to do like around 2007. And then our second son came along. And so I was like, life. And so I never fit, but I had the foot. Actually, that's how I ended up connecting with the current owner, because I found the footage. I was like, man, if that was my grandfather, I'd want to see that. He's passed and it's cool. So I had sent it to him and we made that connection. But I'm super stoked about that, because I'm also looking forward heavily to working with Sean, aka Dewey Sean, because guy's just freaking great. He's awesome energy and he's funny and he's nice, and I'm looking forward to that. And then once that is done, obviously we're doing the mom and pop thing, which is always a good time. My next intent is I want to do a slightly more involved short film. I feel like I'm doing this by degrees, right? So far, everything I've shot has been like in a day or in half a day, and because I had that moment where I'm like, I look back and I shot Whole Town over like a 10 or 14 day shooting schedule, like every day. And it's like, I have no memory. No, I have memory of like moments, but it's like, I don't remember waking up in the morning and like getting ready to go to work. Like you think you'd remember, I don't remember any of that. And so I'm like, can I do that now? Like, I don't know if I could, do I have it in me to like work for like 10, 12 hours straight on a production like that for like a week straight or something? But what I'm trying to work my way up to is being able to do that. So I want to do hopefully in the spring, that's my intent, is to do a slightly more involved short. Possibly also said at the Silver Moon. That was one of the things I asked, is because he asked me like, oh, is there a cost involved for, if we have you do this? I was like, well, first off, no, I do it for free because I love you guys. I love this place. Said, but if we're going to do a quid pro quo, I would love to shoot a short film here. So if I could use it as a location, bro, like that's more than enough for me. I'd be happy. So and he said, yeah. So We'll see. Well, like I said, pull the rug.
Maybe you could organize a action sequence for a film about a undead law enforcement officer. Maybe
Maybe
that could be worked in.
that would be pretty sweet. I ain't gonna lie. And so, yeah. So I'm gonna hopefully be able to do that, and then at some point here, I want to do a feature. Now, I don't know what that feature looks like. I don't know. I thought I toyed with the idea of doing like a straight up like SOV style shot on VHS movie, but then it's funny after like using for gift wrap, I shot that on my iPhone 14. And I just got the iPhone 16. Because I and for those out there that know all this stuff, I apologize. Rick and I come from an era where you literally edited VCR to VCR. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we're both relearning, as it were. But like I've been going down the rabbit hole of like Apple Log and shooting in that because it gives you, I guess, more latitude. So when you do your coloring, your dynamic range for your colors and everything in post, and I've seen the before and after, and like the stuff that this freaking phone can do is insane. I literally just bought a neutral density filter that I'm supposed to get tomorrow for it that I can mount to it. And just the quality is absurd. Like it's ridiculous. And what I love about these phones is that I can put it on a gimbal or I can put on a little thing and hold it, but most people don't notice it. Like they're not like, I mean, it's not like that obtrusive, it's like this huge thing that's in your face. And so I'd love to shoot, and I think was it 28 years later, I think you shot an iPhone 15.
Yes,
A portion of it. So I like that idea, like that challenge of being able to do that. And therefore, if I shoot it on something like that, then I could spend maybe a little bit more money on like audio, make that a priority. Because God love my fellow indie filmmakers out there, but let's be honest, for all of us, audio is often a problem. And I feel like that's one of those things that and it's not a super expensive thing to fix or do right to begin with. So if you can get that right, I think you're onto something. Yeah, so I mean that's the current creative trajectory, and then obviously, as I stated at the top, helping you make Hard Edge become a physical reality in my greedy little physical media loving hands.
In your SOV hands, loving hands.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, man. Well, thanks again, and thank you guys for watching, and we will see you on the next one.
And thank you to Callie for putting up with all this and editing it, I'm sure.
We're out.
Don't forget to say hello to your sick mother. Yes. What can I do for you, sir?
I'm Anthony Matta.
Yeah? Oh, that's right. Sorry I didn't have anybody pick up the taxi for you. What the hell is this doing here anyway?